Malice is a 3D action platformer which feels at odds with itself and its medium's culture. It was released when its genre was on the way out, it aimed for an older demographic despite said demographic's disinterest in platformers, and it's easy to the point of tedium. It was primed to fail from every angle. Even its postmodernist take on fairy tale tropes lacks any punch. It's mediocre to the bone, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be discussed. We'll start with the story, where you play as Malice, goddess of life and mother to all, shortly after she gets her head bit off. She naturally loses her memory and enlists the help of an elderly machine guardian to defeat the wicked god who slew her. And that's it, really. Sure, other stuff technically happens along the way, but it feels like a circus of wacky characters, not a proper narrative. There's a bad guy, you play through some levels, and you kill the bad guy. End script. No character development, no twists, no thematic hook. To make matters worse, there's no real rationale for the already threadbare plot progression. The Metal Guardian just knows exactly where you need to go, why, and how to do everything you should do. He'll explain it too, in excruciating detail. Normally this level of omnipotence would be concerning, but not here. The Guardian's just a glorified plot device. Go to this level because that's where the next level is at, and complete the level because that's how you unlock the next one. The game makes a couple snarky jokes about the lazy writing, but that doesn't solve the issue, it just draws attention to it. Speaking of snark, this game is obsessed with it. It occasionally imagines itself as a darkly comedic parody of other fantasy epics, but it lacks the wit and savvy for such a thing. Most of its jokes and jabs are naked references to other media or else utterly brain-dead banter. Sometimes it'll slip in some wannabe edgy commentary on contemporary social concerns, but this zest is fleeting and none of it ties into a central theme or greater purpose. All the best comedies have a heart of their own and use humor to communicate something meaningful, but Malice reaches no such heights. It is content to wallow in baseline banality. The gameplay is arguably superior, though it's a tight race. This is nearly as basic as 3D platformers get. You've got combat that consists of one light horizontal attack and one heavy vertical attack, a jump and double jump, and some secondary magical powers that are too situational and too bland to add much flavor. And the simplicity isn't bad in itself. My most adored games are quite simple, but there's no opportunity for emergent strategizing or thoughtful play. The enemies are so comically incompetent and your invincibility frames are so generous that I found myself dozing off while slamming the X button, watching enemies walk right into my attacks. The game does introduce new enemy types at a steady rate, but none of them are more threatening. And sure, you could use your magic to dispatch them quicker, but what's the point? You're already so overpowered, even the bosses don't stand a chance. In contrast, the platforming at least features some suitably challenging segments, but they're quite sparse. The double jump is simply too generous and the platform placement is too lenient. You can't even use the moon jump movement to perform skillful skips or anything. The stages are too linear and constrained, gating your progress by way of endless enemy encounters or mandatory collectible hunts. There is one particular platforming gauntlet of note tucked away in an optional area accessible upon death, but it's unlikely you'll ever see it. You practically have to try to die in this game. In some ways, it's more challenging than winning. If there's one unequivocal positive amidst this sea of abject mediocrity, it's the audiovisual presentation. Malice packs some pretty delightful, detailed environments, complete with mystical musical accompaniment. Some of the settings are downright entrancing, even without the emotional weight of a proper story. The water has this ethereal glaze to it, the ooze ripples and roils in just the right ways, and nearly every surface is given a painterly touch. It's wonderfully immersive, right until the screen tearing kicks in. So you've got uninspired and unbalanced game design, shallow storytelling, half-hearted humor, and some stellar visuals, marred by an inconsistent frame rate and other technical concerns. There's just not a lot Malice does right, but it's still far from truly terrible. Even its most awful aspects are mildly bothersome at worst, and it offers some superficial pleasures. It does look nice, sound nice, and it takes you across a variety of surreal, memorable landscapes. If that's all you're after, you could do a whole lot worse.